This has been covered in previous FMFFs, so this isn't really meant to kind of to go over and rehash all of that. Basically, what I wanted to cover was the fact that there was a situation that arose a while back with a customer that I had, and it had to do with the perimeter defender, and we're all aware of how I think most of us are aware, and I'll cover it here real quickly that the perimeter defender allows us to have what we refer to as the metadata bounding boxes on the screen, so you can track and you can kind of see progress of people moving across the screen, either for intrusion detection, line detection, things of that nature. And that is an application that is installed actually in the Axis cameras. The different camera manufacturers do things differently, but Axis, you actually install the application on the camera itself. You run it, you calibrate it, this type of thing. So to make that bounding box work within XProtect, you have to have the Perimeter Defender software, or what we refer to, there's a plugin available for it, and it's referred to as the Perimeter Defender Bridge. And what that bridge does is it takes the metadata, combines it. You have to set it up within XProtect so you can display the live video stream and then overlay this bounding box metadata over the live video. So just to kind of a quick review on that, Perimeter Defender, kind of here on out, we refer to it as APD. It is compatible with C code. You see on my PowerPoint here where you can trigger user-defined events. You got video analytic events that you can trigger, alarms from APDs. Within this plugin that Axis has created, we can do bookmarks, and then you'll notice where it says show live metadata on the video stream, and also record that metadata for playback purposes. And again, what I'm talking about here is what we refer to as those bounding box overlays. So you also notice that in E code, and then we'll kind of cover this a little bit later. Within E code, Axis prefers that you use a previous version because some things have been tweaked in the Perimeter Defender Bridge and some functionality of it. You can also get the manual global events, video analytic events. You can get alarms, but in E code, that bounding box data does not show up. There's no way to make it work. So let's see if I can advance my slide here. Prerequisites, kind of talked about that. You download the current version from Axis. Currently, as of March 21st, it's 2.3.0, and there's a link there. Again, you can just go to the Axis website. You can search for Axis Perimeter Defender, and it will point you in the right direction. It'll also allow you to download the Milestone plugin, which the current version as of February 28th is 3.10. And again, we refer to this as the Axis Perimeter Defender Bridge. It's a go-between. It's a service that runs somewhere in your system that has to tie that metadata in with the actual cameras themselves. And the note I have down here in the bottom is that the Milestone plugin 3.10, there was a note in Axis's release notes that it says there's complete support of federated systems for metadata display in live and playback mode. I've not been able to test that yet, but the inference here is that the Perimeter Defender can be installed in any camera anywhere in the federated system, and you would be able to see those metadata bounding boxes at the parent sites or in all the sites. One of the situations that we'll talk about real quick here or in a little bit is that in an interconnect system, this is what kind of brought a lot of this about with the Axis rep here locally, and a site that I had in my region was that in an interconnected site, we had the cameras connected to the interconnect remote site, and we could see the bounding boxes there, but we could not see those bounding boxes at the central site, and it was critical to the customer that they wanted to have those bounding boxes at that site. And with the Perimeter Defender Bridge, with the metadata tying those in, it was not possible in that setup to see those bounding boxes at the central site. So where this all came about was we discovered that, or it was brought up that Axis has created within certain models of their cameras, within a certain firmware version above that level, in this case, and I'll talk about it real quick, is 7.3.0, they have done burnt in metadata for the cameras. So what they've done is we've kind of eliminated this bridge in this scenario, and that metadata bounding box is now burnt into their video stream. kind of gets us around a few issues with a couple of architectures. So kind of the cover here on this slide is when using APD, we have the video stream and then we have a separate metadata stream, and those have to be tied together to give us those bounding boxes. So it is the metadata that produces those bounding boxes, and in our situation, it's by the use of Perimeter Defender Bridge, which is kind of a middleware that fixes that. And here, as I have a note, is E-code in some system designs, specifically like interconnect. In that situation, the bounding boxes won't be displayed. Down here at the bottom, interconnected systems, metadata bounding boxes, right? Again, I just kind of cover real quick. As of 7.3.0 or newer firmware, in certain models of cameras, it's not available across the entire Axis line currently. What I've seen is what I was told from the Axis rep was that a lot of their thermal cameras and some of the Q series cameras, this firmware is available to where we can do the burnt-in bounding boxes metadata, right? So the note here is it's not across the entire line, but a lot of the Q series. I have a 1615 that the Axis rep loaned me, and that works on that. The other note about the bounding box and the burnt-in metadata is it's only available on a single stream coming from the camera, typically a lower resolution stream. And in the case of the 1615 model that I was using, I had to set it up on a 720p stream. And anytime anybody pulls that 720p stream out of that camera, that bounding box is going to be burnt in. I'm going to try to show you here in a minute if all my equipment cooperates here. Everything's running really badly this morning. One of the notes from Axis was that burnt-in metadata is going to cause and create more processing on the camera. So think of it in that case. So it's not going to work in every situation, but it might get us out of some tight spots in some designs or in some specific situations, maybe like an interconnect, or it's an E-code system or something where they just insist on having the bounding boxes. It's not really falls on us necessarily, but with this capability with Axis, maybe we can kind of alleviate some of those issues. So here real quickly, again, I tried to pull this up and show you guys live, and I can't. It's just running on all these VMs and things on my laptop. It just really choked it badly. But in order to turn on the burnt-in metadata, you actually run the Perimeter Defender setup program. This is separate from the Perimeter Defender Bridge service configuration. This is actually where you go into APD, you do the calibration, you load the software, you load the application on the camera, you set it up, calibrate it, blah, blah, blah. It was very difficult to find where this was set up, and I had to go back to Axis and go, listen, you guys don't have this documented anywhere. You say it's available. It's really odd, but you go into the camera itself within APD setup, and under the Outputs tab, you kind of see it, hopefully you see it highlighted here on the screen, and it's down at the bottom. It says Burnt-in Metadata Overlay. You can enable it there, and you pick the video stream, and then you apply it. And then from that point forward, whenever you pull up that video stream from that camera, that metadata is going to be burnt in on it. You're going to see it, right? Possible scenarios here. Again, we covered it with the E-code because the metadata and the bounding boxes are not supported. And then just again, where I talked about interconnect with the bounding boxes needing to be viewed.
Hey, Robert,
yes.
I think we lost you there for a bit.
Oh.
Yeah, we all kind of lost your voice there for about the last 15 seconds or so.
Oh no, where did we go from there?
Well, your screen too. I'm only seeing maybe a quarter or half of it.
All right.
There it refreshed.
I'm seeing a slide deck that's coming.
I apologize, everybody. Again, I don't know if there's something going on with the networks around here or what's going on this morning, but I'm really having some hardware issues, so I do apologize for that. Hopefully we can get through this without not much longer. Again, I was just
blame it on Skype.
Yeah, Skype and
you seem to be good now.
So just kind of cover this again, how to set this and enable the burnt-in metadata within the APD. Again, it's kind of weird where you go into the output section of the Perimeter Defender setup, and there's a portion where it says enable the burnt-in metadata overlay. This will not appear unless you're trying to configure it on a camera that has the firmware capabilities to do the built-in. So if you're trying to run it on a camera that's not compatible, you won't even get this option. So that's the end of the slides. I wanted to try to show you guys what it looks like if I can get this to cooperate. You guys see that there? Should be a smart client up. It's not really much to see here. What I was trying to demonstrate was that on the left screen and on the right screen, the left one actually has the burnt in metadata stream. Okay, so this is completely coming out of the camera. We really didn't have to configure anything. And the right-hand side was supposed to show using the Perimeter Defender bridge with the metadata. And to be honest with you, that's kind of some of the issues I've run in with setting up Perimeter Defender bridge and the metadata is that sometimes it just stops working.
Hey, Rob, one
Yes.
thing I found when working with this is it's really finicky with the Access Bridge service. So anytime you make changes, you need to bounce that service, and then it seemed to start working for me.
Yeah, I've bounced it. And the other thing, if people don't know, is that if you don't have the time synced properly between, say, your smart client and where that service is running, the metadata will not overlay. So this is actually a case here on the right of something has gone wrong, and I ran out of time this morning to try to get it to work. But on the left side, I'm not having those issues because this is burnt in coming directly from the camera. So I haven't lost that at all. So again, I apologize for that. Not a great demo, but the curse of the demo on me here.
Well, actually, it's probably a really good case showing, where this other solution might be more, bulletproof.
Yeah. So I appreciate the comment on there. So one of the things, the last thing I wanted to cover with the interconnect portion of it again was, if I can get this to come up in the management client. And again, this is running so slow this morning. It's just bad. You wouldn't normally see the metadata overlay within the management client when you're working with it, but with the burnt-in metadata, you'd actually see it coming up in the management client, and you wouldn't have to configure the actual metadata channels, which within the management client, that becomes a device. You have to license this and that. So okay, cool. Hopefully, you guys are seeing this in my management client. This is a stream you normally wouldn't see the bounding box within the management client, but you see that this is still working. I didn't have to necessarily mess with the metadata channels. So again, I apologize for the hardware issues. That's really all I had this morning. Is I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. I didn't know if anybody had become aware of what Access was doing with this burnt-in metadata. Again, certain camera lines, and I think with the way Access does things, they'll introduce things and it'll be in their higher end in the Q series. And if that proves that it's something that is useful in the market, I think they start introducing it more into their P series and their M series cameras. So just be aware this might be something that can help with a solution somewhere when you're using Access cameras, maybe interconnect, E-code, something of that nature. So. Any questions on that? I do see some stuff on the side. I don't know if they're mostly questions or comments. Oh, I see from Mike Terrace. Is any of the Perimeter Defender functionality included in the Access Optimizer package for Milestone? I do not believe that Perimeter Defender is part of the Optimizer package currently. I have not asked the Access rep if that's planned or part of that in the future, but I think a lot of their analytics stuff, there's so many of them, that I don't know if they're planning on making that part of Optimizer at this point, maybe down the road. So, and Steve Moore, Skype is saying I have bad connection. I don't doubt that. Yeah, thanks, Alex. How to demo well. Real cameras don't show terribly. Yeah, the curse of it. Like I said, I actually had it running yesterday. I was setting it. I shut everything down last night. Like when I started it up this morning, I've been struggling with it all morning. So. All right. Anything else for everybody? Any questions on that specifically?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Rob, the burnt-in metadata, is that something you can use without Access Perimeter Defender?
As far as like without the Perimeter Defender bridge, like the plugin, the Milestone plugin, is that what you're asking, Steve?
Is there any kind of like movement bounding boxes you can generate from the camera just to send directly over the video stream, or is that something that's being generated on Perimeter Defender?
Oh, I like the alarms, the analytics, and things of that nature. There's a lot of that part of it that is built into the plugin as far as the automatic bookmarking and the video analytics and stuff. The one thing I did do, and if you didn't use the perimeter the plugin at all, is using the camera to possibly generate the generic events. I have done that. So I had the burnt-in metadata, and I was just coming straight into ExpertTech, just using a generic event. There's just the text string to generate alarms, and it would be basically bypassing the Perimeter Defender plugin completely. That was one of the experiments I was trying to get as a solution to this customer, and then that was something they didn't want either because of the configuration that was required on it. Does that answer your question?
Rob,
I think so, yeah.
Rob, how are you?
Hi.
Let me ask you, when you do the recording of the stream, the metadata overlay is recorded as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because it's just it's in the video stream.
Yeah. Okay. So it comes already integrated in the video stream itself from the camera.
Yep. Yeah. It's as far as we're concerned, it's just part of the video. We don't know that there's anything else. There's no separate metadata really associated with it. It's just a line embedded in the video.
I see.
So here's if you can see it, this is the playback on it, or a portion of playback on it. So it's just there all the time. I apologize. I don't have it calibrated looking out this back field. It's
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's pretty good, actually.
Okay. So anything else, anybody? All right. Let's I appreciate everybody's patience. I am not going to ISC next week, so everybody enjoy themselves and be safe, and have a great weekend.